Under Siege is this Saturday, where we will find out who is going to become the very first number one contender to Kenny Omega's Impact World Championship in a match that I presume will take place at Against All Odds in June, possibly on an episode of Impact right after Under Siege. But there are currently 6 men vying for that shot. They're going to be facing off this Saturday, and those 6 men include Sami Callihan, Moose, Chris Bay, Matt Cardona, Chris Sabin, and Trey Miguel. And all 6 of those men have the qualifications both inside the ring and outside the ring to challenge the cleaner in Kenny Omega for the Impact World Championship. But right here, right now, I want to talk about one man in particular. One man who very recently, as a matter of fact, about a week ago, back in, May 6th, is May 6th of this year, he set the Impact Wrestling social media Twitter ablaze when he just subtly tweeted out that he wanted to win the Impact World Championship before his contract came up, before his contract ran out and expired in June of this year. And of course, I'm talking about the self-proclaimed wrestling god himself, Moose. And like I said, I want to focus specifically on Moose because ever since he turned heel, ever since, about a year and a half ago, he started to portray this aura, this characteristic about him that really made him feel like an actual top guy, even though he's never been Impact World Champion, even though he's never been a world champion in professional wrestling before, even when he first started in Ring of Honor. Moose, ever since he made his debut back in July of 2016 at Destination X, helping out Mike Bennett, the Miracle, back then, he always seemed like a top contender. He always seemed like a top wrestler, like a top guy, but never at the level of a main event guy. He was never portrayed in that manner, and his booking did not help at all. Sure, he was the Impact Grand Champion. Sure, he turned on Mike Bennett and had a subpar match with him at Bound for Glory that year. But all in all, Moose was just a guy with so much potential, a wrestler with so much potential that we are currently seeing right now, but that hadn't been exploited in the right manner. And somewhere along the way, last year, Impact Wrestling found his stride. They found the perfect way to book him. First, they had him take the TNA World Championship, a fake title, a title that is no longer valid in Impact Wrestling these days. And he carried it around as if it were real, as if it were sanctioned. And he called himself the TNA World Champion, and he defended it as such. That helped things a lot. Because with Moose carrying a title, with Moose carrying the title, what in my opinion is the most beautiful championship design in Impact Wrestling history to today. It gave us a glimpse into what Moose could be if he ever truly became Impact World Champion and the face of the company, and he had to carry the company on his back. Then you got the EC3 factor inserted into the Moose character. And in a feud and a rivalry where I hoped that EC3 would persevere and topple Moose and then stick around for a lot longer than he did and once again become the face of the company, turned out that he just came in for one program, one big match, one big feud, one big story he wanted to tell, not just for himself, but to try and truly flip the fans' perspective on the Moose character. And EC3, I thank you for that, because you did just that. You made us see and view Moose from the bully, the punk who was just carrying a fake title that he stole from the Impact Wrestling warehouse, and he was defending it in a very respectful manner, but again, not sanctioned. You took us from viewing Moose in that manner to viewing him as a businessman, as a man who carried himself as the face of the company. And Moose persevered. He beat EC3, and then he started targeting the brand new Impact World Champion Rich Swann. And even though he failed in achieving his dream of becoming Impact World Champion, of defeating Rich Swann and unifying the titles, Moose still remains to this day one of the best superstars Impact Wrestling has to offer. And the fact of the matter is, the fact that his contract is coming up in June, and that would mark 5 years since he has been with Impact Wrestling, other than Eddie Edwards, the longest tenured current Impact Wrestling star without breaks in between. I find that to be completely disrespectful to the work that Moose has been giving Impact Wrestling over the past year and a half, 2 years. And I think that's something that Don Callis and Scott D'Amore and Anthem and Ed Nordholm, they need to, check in with Moose and offer him a better contract, a better deal. He's one of your top stars. If you re-sign him, and if you build him up the right way, and if you don't sign Samoa Joe back to Impact Wrestling, Moose can be the hero that beats the crap out of Kenny Omega and takes the Impact World title back for the company. He can be that character. The fans are behind him. The fans believe it. These are contract negotiations, of course. And recent news of Samoa Joe being released by WWE. Of Daniel Bryan's contract expiring with WWE. And the fact that Samoa Joe's 90-day non-compete clause, as well as the others that were released on April 15th, ends on July 14th. And the fact that Impact Wrestling just announced that Slammiversary is taking place on Saturday, July 17th, that adds to the speculation. Is Samoa Joe coming back to Impact Wrestling? That's something I want. But you know what's better than Samoa Joe versus Kenny Omega and focusing on that feud alone? What's even better is having a second option in Moose. Moose versus Joe. Number 1 contendership for Power for Glory. Whoever wins challenges Kenny Omega for the Impact World Championship. Or make it a triple threat match. I don't know what you gotta do, but you gotta sign Moose to a brand new contract. And you've got to re-sign Samoa Joe back to the company that made him famous. Those are just my thoughts. Obviously, I have no clear interest, no points to gain here other than the fact that I just want to be a fan who is entertained by the Impact Wrestling product, and as an Impact Wrestling fan for almost 12 years now. Impact Wrestling cannot afford to keep losing stars. That's all I've got to say. So if Impact Wrestling management is watching this video at all, I'm talking directly to you. Please re-sign Moose. Because if you don't, he will become a wrestling god elsewhere. And Impact, that is something you do not want. So overall, just tune in to Access TV later tonight to watch how the action unfolds in this big 6-man tag team match, six-man tag team main event match that they have planned. And then this Saturday, let's see what results and who comes out the winner. Because if Moose re-signs with the company, then I would not make Moose the number 1 contender at this Saturday. Save it for a big pay-per-view match. But if they don't reach an agreement, have Moose win at Under Siege, and build that interest for the Moose Kenny Omega match while you can. That's been it. Those are my thoughts. If you have different thoughts, different predictions on what's going to happen this Saturday at Under Siege, leave them on the comment section below. I've been Alexis Correo. That's it for me. Have a great rest of your Thursday.